And then we were reciting the Athanasian Creed, because that's what we do on Trinity Sunday. And it struck me like a lightning bolt. It said, you know what? We're not alone after all.
You're spending 5 minutes with a missionary. This podcast is a window into missionary life. It's fun, it's personal, it's real, and it's always an adventure. During Season 1, LCMS missionaries serving around the globe consider the topic of home. Today we'll hear from a few members of the Ferry family. Reverend Charles Ferry and his wife Cheryl live in Taiwan, where Charles serves as the regional director for all of the mission work that the LCMS does in Asia.
It's a privilege today to join with you and a few others to talk about the concept of home. I'm not going to do it by myself, but I'm joined by two very special people in my life. First of all, we have...
Hi, I'm Cheryl. I'm wife to Charles.
And I'm Caleb. I'm the oldest son of the Ferry family.
Caleb, how old does oldest get you?
Right now I'm 16.
You know, as we're talking about the concept of home today, and we were getting some thoughts together, it dawned on us that this is a really ironic time for us as a family to be talking about home. Caleb, you want to tell us why that is?
Well, it's because right now we're not in our current home of Taiwan. Right now we are traveling around the United States, visiting churches and also family and friends.
When you think about home, what kind of things come to mind, Cheryl?
I think the biggest thing for me, it's family and where family is, where my immediate family is. So when we are all together, it doesn't matter what place that is.
We were asked some years ago when we were living in the state of Michigan to make our home in Indonesia and to live and work among those people. And we took along 4 young children with us. So Caleb, as the oldest Ferry child, and the only boy, by the way, what were things like for you when we picked up and moved from the United States over to Asia and to Indonesia?
Well, being 8 years old, so that's pretty young, right? I wasn't really concerned because I knew mom and dad were there to protect me if anything went wrong.
You know, and when Caleb was 8 years old and we moved to Indonesia, we moved to a city called Bandung. And I can remember very clearly when we moved our family into that new home that had been picked out for us by the language school with whom we were studying. And we kind of looked at each other that first night after we put the kids down in their bed. And we kind of just held each other. And there were more than a few tears that kind of like, what in the world have we done, right? So, Cheryl, do you remember some things that we did as a family that started to help us cope with that transition of home?
It was something that we came together a little bit closer as a family. We made our devotion life a priority and spent time together doing that. But then also with language school and to learn the language, it was important to get out into the kampung, into the neighborhood a little bit. And so I would take the kids with me. And we'd go to get to know those people who were around us and to know our surroundings a little bit.
I remember the first Sunday that we were in Bandung, and we kind of were wondering what was going on because there was no Lutheran church that was there anywhere in the city. So we gathered in our kitchen that first Sunday. You remember that?
Yeah.
It happened to be Trinity Sunday. And so as we were going through the divine service and singing hymns together, and the call to prayer from the local masjid was bouncing into our kitchen window. And then we were singing, "This is the feast." And then we were reciting the Athanasian Creed, because that's what we do on Trinity Sunday. And it struck me like a lightning bolt. It said, you know what? We're not alone after all. We are united with our brothers and sisters all over the world on this Sunday who are reciting this same creed. And what a comfort that was to know that even though we were in this new place, that we had a chance of making this feel like home. Can you think of some of the things that that have made it start to feel like home?
Well, the times we were in the U.S., it was, getting your things up on the wall, setting up the home and the furniture. Going overseas, we didn't take as much of our own stuff with us. And so that was a harder thing to do. And so having the family around and being together, but that took longer because it took time to learn the language. It took time to get to know the people around us. And it took time to get to know which streets to take to get which direction. And that was what helped to make it feel more like home, because we felt that we had a space in this place, that we also belonged here.
And what a thing to be able to pass on to our kids then, that in all of these places that they've lived and that we've set up a home, all the different places that our Lord has called us to serve and given the opportunity to live and learn the language and meet the people, that their ultimate home is not in any of these places. Their home and our home is with our Lord Jesus. And that's what really matters. And so what a joy it is for us too, whenever we're home, whenever we're set up for a couple of days in a new place, to be able to gather around in the living room or the table or wherever, and to be able to sing and pray and hear the word together, and be reminded that we have such a blessing because we all have a home that has been given to us as a gift by grace through faith.
Thanks for spending 5 minutes with the missionary. To learn more about the Ferry family, go to lcms.org/ferry. You can also sign up for their newsletter using the link in the show notes. You can find this podcast on kfuo.org/missionary podcast or anywhere you get your podcasts. Have you ever thought about serving as a missionary? Reach out to mission.recruitment@lcms.org to learn more.